Figures suggest that there are more than 400,000 children up for adoption in Malaysia. The religious and legal systems, however, can make the process very long, leaving many want-to-be parents disappointed, and some resort to baby buying. Children up for adoption end up staying in homes for years. Sumisha Naidu takes a look at the issue from KL.
Meet Bhakti Arjuna Fitri, the inspiration behind the song you hear in the background, and the adopted toddler of Fin Jamal, a woman who's made a name for herself, especially on social media, for her writing, singing, and now for being a mom.
There's nothing else that I want anymore. There's nothing else. I am so happy. Oh my God.
Juna, as he's fondly known, came into Fin's life after she posted a Facebook status expressing her desire to adopt a baby, after years of failed attempts and being on waiting lists. A fan got in touch through the social network and offered Fin her own baby, and within weeks of Juna being born, the adoption papers were signed.
It was easy. I am so happy to say it is easy to handle paperwork, when it comes to adoption in Malaysia. You just have to be transparent and that's it. Because I think everybody wants the best for the kid, for the child, right? So if the mother's there and then there's a willing adoptive parent, why would the government say no? So I think they're doing a good job.
As easy as the direct adoption process may have been for Fin, UNICEF estimates there are still more than 400,000 orphans in Malaysia, while those working in the system believe there are around 2,000 orphanages and private shelters.
But who are these kids? How do they end up in homes? And are any parents in Malaysia taking them home to be adopted?
The answers, it seems, aren't that simple, and Malaysia's Social Welfare Department have yet to respond to our requests for information. Goh Siew Lin is a lawyer who specializes in family law. She says the mothers who give up their children often aren't in a position to look after them.
Usually these young girls may have, depending on their background, they experiment. They are not educated or empowered about contraception, about their rights. And because of the stigma that's involved, they think that this is the best option and they give the children up. Of course, obviously, if they had the education, the means and the support from the extended family, I think many would have kept their children, their babies.
Orphan Care is an NGO that works as a liaison between orphanages and shelters and the parents who desperately want children.
Our waiting list is it's about 3,000 over. We've just hit that mark, 3,000 over. We've done about 600 plus interviews only.
But if so many parents are wanting children, why are there still so many of them in homes? Elia says one reason could be because of the long wait.
This is before we started orphan care. We already knew that a couple would wait a minimum of 2 years before they can adopt a child through the ministry. So people are quite, they're not wanting to wait that long, So because of that, we try to make our processes shorter, and we work, we want to be more efficient so that we can get more children out in a shorter period of time.
Elia says the filtering of who can be adopted and who can't can be a long process. And once a child is placed with parents, there's still a 2-year wait before the adoption can become official. The law does allow, however, for non-Muslim parents to petition for adoption after 3 months of having the child with them.
The process goes through court, so you make an application to the court, supported by an affidavit. The affidavit must set out the birth certificate. If the child's parents are available, then the identification papers of the child's parents, passport and IC, and consents of the natural parents should be exhibited, because then it will facilitate and make the process faster and speedier. If there is no parents' consent available, or it's not forthcoming for whatever reason, he or she may be untraceable or in prison or insane or incapable of granting consent, then you can apply to court to dispense with the consent.
The issue of parental consent is what keeps many children at homes as well. A significant number of orphanages and shelters, such as Lighthouse Children Welfare Association, don't release kids for adoption as they still have parents or a parent in the picture.
My mom and my dad couldn't take care of me properly, so they put me in here.
This 15-year-old has been at Lighthouse since he was 8.
They all come from underprivileged homes, dysfunctional families, alcoholic families, drug families, and some of the children have been physically and sexually abused.
But though these children can't be adopted, Jacinta says that has not stopped people from asking.
There are people who even come here and ask us, have you got a child who's like 10 or 12 that we can adopt? I said, what for? Because, I'm growing old, I need someone to help me out in the house. I said, but that's not the reason to adopt. Why don't you go and get a maid? Maid we have to pay. You see, we have people, it is not once people have asked us, numerous times. People have asked us this question and I told them, I said, none of the children should go into a place for a reason like that.
But while those parents wanted older children, the sad reality is that many of them won't find homes because many parents want to adopt babies.
We are appealing to the public that please, consider adopting a bigger child, so that, you can give them that guidance and be their guardians. Can you imagine a child staying there from the age of 5 till 18? And then after that, they leave the orphanage, then what?
Elia says orphan care will ask older parents to consider taking an older child, but she knows there are many who are set on experiencing the joys of parenthood with babies. And in some cases, it's this desperation for that experience that leads to parents buying babies.
Maybe the vetting process is too strict. Maybe by the time they go through and satisfy the criteria, the baby is already no longer a baby but a toddler. So they want to experience the joy and the joy of having a small baby instead of waiting till the child becomes 3 or 4. It's no longer the same. Why should they wait 3-4 years when they can have an instant baby? So I think, and then for rich parents, I think it's quite affordable because I've read many cases where babies can be purchased for as low as 6,000. 28,000, 40,000, depending on the financial means of the parents. The syndicate that I was aware of actually was run through a clinic, and the doctor was, I think over a few years, had been doing this kind of business, and fortunately he was raided and exposed.
Both Siulin and Elia feel that speeding up the process of adoption in the country could help curb this problem.
Well, we must look into the laws, adoption laws, to make it easier for the adoption process to take place. We have to look into that for sure. We have to have awareness campaigns and publicity, national. We feel that only when the government says to people, look, adopt, we have how many orphans in our country, they're all, normal and they should not be in homes, then, this will help us a lot more.
Those working in the system also feel the government needs to look into laws to make it easier for parents adopting abandoned babies or trafficked children, victims who have no legal documents and are therefore considered stateless. Siulin feels acquiring nationality for these children should be easier, given Malaysia's ratification of the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child. Article 7 in that convention lays out the right of a child to a nationality.
Because when you acquire nationality, there are many, many rights that flow from it, such as the right to an identity card, birth certificate, passport, the right to education. Because without these rights, you cannot be educated. You cannot hold employment. You can't access the many things that we take for granted. You can't vote, you can't travel, you can't do anything. So for me, it's very worrying when there's so many stateless children which grow into stateless adults.
Aside from nationality, a child's religion is also difficult to determine when details about the parents are unknown.
Our edict here in Malaysia on religion is that once a child is left abandoned, within 48 hours, there's no one coming in to, claim the child, then the child is deemed a Muslim. Every child that has a known identity and known religion will be given to a couple of that same religion.
Nationality or religion was not an issue for Finn, who knows enough about Juna's biological father and mother for that to not be a problem.
You ready? Again.
But Finn got to know Juna's birth parents for more than just legal reasons. She wants them to be a part of her son's life.
I want him to feel it's okay to have two moms and two dads. It's just that circumstances made him stay with me.
Despite all the initial challenges, Finn says as soon as her son is ready for a brother or sister, she won't hesitate to adopt again. And she's calling on other Malaysians to do the same. For Asia Calling, this is Sumisha Naidu from Kuala Lumpur.